All right, fam. It's not a good moment right about now. So I just gotta put this out there. I'm gonna put it on wax, and it is what and where it is. And I was told as a young man, you shouldn't say things when you're angry. So I tried to take a walk. I tried to drive a little bit to see if I can calm myself down, and I'm still having this bit of anger and vitriol in me. So I gotta get rid of it. So I'm gonna ask you a question, and I want you to be clear with yourself about this. Is what happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with the police killing our brother, is that an instance or is it an institution? Is it an instance or an institution? Now, I'm not going to sit up here and scream about all cops and all black people and all white people because I don't know all. So I'll say the ones that I've come into contact with. I've been walking on this planet for 4 decades and I've traveled it quite extensively. So I think I have a varied perspective about dealing with other types of people. So I'm going to talk about the ones that I've dealt with. Is it an instance or is it an institution? It is no way that you can justify you having to subdue someone, more than one person, with that type of force and that type of force used to cause the death of that man. I'm going to give you all the police narratives and all the academy talking points that are going to come up. You should comply. Very much true, so. You should do as directed when you're told you're under arrest by the police. Very much so. But isn't there something also that says that you only use the minimum force required to stop the situation or to gain compliance or to get you out of danger and harm's way? If you honestly think that a man without a shirt on the ground, handcuffed, is a danger to you, and I'm quite sure you're going to insert some academy talking points here. I want you to think about this. If that was your daughter on the ground, would she still be that dangerous? If you think that someone on the ground is still dangerous, with a knee on their neck, someone holding their feet and their waist, without a shirt on and handcuffed, you probably need to find another job. I know that we're gonna get the police talking points. I understand that. I'm saying that here's a matter of humanity. This man said that he could not breathe, and you laughed at him. Not only did you laugh, you snickered, so it was in your soul. It wasn't an immediate visceral reaction. It was in your soul the way that you snickered. Now, I want you to ask yourself again, is this an instance or is this an institution? I think you already know the answer to it. Why is it acceptable that people of color die because of quote unquote non compliance? I don't understand how much more compliance you need when you're handcuffed and on the ground. And when you state that you couldn't breathe. Now, here's the kicker. People don't get this, but here's the kicker. And anyone that knows anything about martial arts or any of the fighting arts will let you know this. You don't make people pass out only from restricting the airflow. You restrict the blood return to the brain. So where do you think that police officer's knee was? I'll wait. So even if he could talk, even if he had air going through his trachea, guess what wasn't going to his brain because of the cop with his knee there? Again, I want you to ask yourself, is this an instance or is it an institution? I'm clear on what it is in my book. I grew up in inner city Philadelphia or in the 70s and the 80s. I left Philadelphia in 1991. I will let that speak on its own. I know what the institution is. And I'm not going to sit up here and say all cops because I know that there are some quote unquote good cops out there. I can tell you some cops who are awesome cops. Brian Graves, Philadelphia. Donovan Gaskin, Philadelphia. The Stroud brothers, father and son, in my neighborhood, 2 doors down from me. Bob Stroud, Sr. and Jr. Both of them, 2 doors down from me in Philadelphia. Cops. It's not a matter of hating cops. It's a matter of disliking the thin blue line that you're going to stand on rather than being accountable for your actions. If that was your daughter on the ground, would you think that it was too much force? I'll ask you again, do you think it was an instance or was it an institution? I know what my answer is. And I know what your police academy talking point is going to be. So let's talk about it. When do you stop with pain compliance? I thought it was when the individual could no longer move. I thought it was when the individual was subdued. So if you're going to use those police academy talking points that you are afraid for your life with a person on the ground with his feet bound and his hands behind him, I think you need to find another job. I'm going to ask this 10,000 times. Was it an instance or was it an institution? Let's go back a little bit further. Let's go back a little bit further. I'm going to tell you where the institution started at. The institution started right after the Emancipation Proclamation. The institution said that we have too many people out here that we need to get off the streets and we need to get free labor from. So let's start an institution, i.e., let's start state police forces. Do your history. State police forces weren't in large numbers until after the end of the emancipation. I want you to do your history on it. Check me on it. That's where the institution began. And it's dangerous because people won't open their eyes to this. We'll keep using these police academy talking points instead of facing the visceral reaction that people of color are treated different than white people, affluent white people. Because there's some poor white people that get treated just as bad as people of color. How do I know that? I don't know everything. So let me tell you about what I know. I know when I joined the military a long time ago that when we talked in basic training, you ask people how many people were arrested, and you see all these hands go up, and you ask, wait a minute, how are you in the military if you were arrested? Oh, I was just taken to the station. I wasn't ever charged. One gentleman said that he had been arrested for DUI before the age of 21 6 times, but never had a record. Why do blacks and poor whites get felonies, but affluent whites get phone calls? It's because it's an institution. I know you're going to hear these police talking points about, well, we go to where the crime is. I guarantee you, do no-knock warrants in the suburbs. You know how many illegal drugs you're going to find? Do no-knock warrants out in the country. Do you know how many meth labs you'll find? If you keep falling under this constant belief that black equals criminality, then you're going to learn to be a part of the problem. You'll learn to be a part of the institution, and you won't even realize that it's happening. There is an institution, because I'll ask you again, if that was your daughter, would you treat her like that? I already know the answer to it. It's much easier to harm a person that does not look like you. It's much easier to harm a person of color because you can always fall back on those police academy talking points, because that's part of the institution. If it were an instance, it would be something fleeting, something to say, well, this situation doesn't happen that often, but the story always seems to happen in a very, very similar way. It's like baking a cake. Let me add this ingredient, then I'll add this ingredient. I'll stir it all together and I'll cook it. I have my police narrative in line. I have a non-compliant person of color who's automatically assumed a criminal, automatically assumed violent. My institution will stand behind me. It is no way possible that that man should be dead when he stated that he couldn't breathe. He stated that he couldn't feel his feet. He stated that he was in pain all over his whole body, and you smirked at him. But I guarantee that thin blue line is going to stand behind you and say, you were doing your job. If you believe that you were doing your job, then you need to find another job. But I'll ask you again, was it an instance or was it an institution? I think you already know the answer to that. It is acceptable. It's acceptable in this world for people of color to die at the hands of police. If that was a little white woman, I guarantee that it'd be hell to pay. Oh, you want an example? Let's give you one. What about up further north? I think it was Minneapolis again, where that white woman from Australia died. That police officer was charged. In less than a week, he was charged because the victim wasn't the typical institutional victim. He wasn't black or brown. He wasn't non compliant. But when that white woman got shot in the same situation, or even less of a situation that people of color get shot, not only was the police officer fired, he was convicted, he was charged, then convicted, then found guilty. I just find that amazing. New Orleans, same way. Police car chase. Little 7-year-old boy sitting in a passenger dies. Cops just happen to be a little bit browner than a normal cop. Guess what? They got charged and found guilty. But yet and still, you will keep saying that, oh, we stand behind ours. Where was the police union for those guys? They weren't part of the chosen few. And I'll keep asking you, is it an instance or an institution? I'm really beginning to believe that the police force is here to enforce the institution rather than enforce the Constitution. There is no way possible that that man should be dead after he was told by the several people around him that he is not moving anymore. That man is motionless. You still kept your knee on his neck. Still did. And then smirked about it. It bothers me. It scares me. And it rips my heart. Because it's like the slave codes are all over again. It's like our police force is enforcing certain things, but they won't enforce the law. They're enforcing their feelings. Are you serious that only people of color in New York aren't wearing masks? Why does every arrest or very violent interaction from a police come from a person with a mask have to be a person of color? That Hasidic Jew that literally spit on the police, resisted arrest 19 times. No one harmed him. But yet and still a little young person gets his arm broke because he wasn't being compliant. What about the Hasidic Jew that wasn't being compliant? How come he isn't dead? How come his arm isn't broke? He was more resistant than the young man was. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong individual, right? This is sad. It's not sad, it's disgusting. And all we're going to do is make some stupid little chants. We're going to do some stupid little protesting. And then in 4 years, nobody's going to give two rats' asses. Again, because the institution won't go anywhere. The institution won't go anywhere. As long as it's acceptable to see people of color as criminals, and as long as it can be justified in the mind through a police narrative, and as long as the academy is teaching the police to write the narrative that they're the victim and they're being acted upon and they were just defending themselves and doing their job, nothing's going to change. Now again, this is not a matter of shitting on all police. I won't let you write that narrative. This is a matter of unlawful, unconstitutional, and unjust force being applied. There is no reason that someone should be dead for non-compliance without being violent. There was no gun. My heart aches. My heart aches. Because again, I'm beginning to lose faith in what I fought for so long. I have a deathly fear of police officers, and I'm a law-abiding citizen. Because again, the institution says that a large black male like myself is a criminal. It says a large black male that's like myself is violent. So they're justified to use force like that. I would ask yourself, if that was a little white, blue-eyed, blonde-haired woman, would she be treated like that? If that was an affluent white male, would he be treated like that? Are you there to support and defend the Constitution that you swore to that state, or are you there to enforce the institution of white supremacy? It's no longer an instance when this happens over and over and over again. Just my thoughts on that. Peace and blessings.